is Real Life with Susan Harf. Thanks everyone for joining us with our favorite life coach to get tips and strategies to navigate all these crazy ordeals and things we deal with just because we're living an authentic life. Hi everyone, I'm Rose Martin, and just like you, I can't wait to hear what's on our mind today. Hi Susan.
How are you, Rose?
I'm doing great.
Glad to see you, and I'm also so happy that you joined us. And today I want to talk about what happens when you're so mad and you can't get over it. You're still mad at them. They did something that you didn't like, and you're angry. You're still angry. You're upset. You're mad. So what I want to begin by thinking about...
But this is good, Susan, because I'm thinking about, all these things that I get mad about all the time, right? Or all these things that I don't even know if I'm making other people mad about because of what we do. So this is good.
So tell me one of those things.
I don't like to be late. And I think that I don't like to be late, and people who know me know I don't like to be late. I like to be prepared and on time. So I don't understand why, if people know that, why they might still be late or taking me down to the very last wire where I might be late, because it's so easy. We could be 5 minutes early or 10 minutes early, and we could be on time for things. So it's just something that I know, it just bugs me, right? It just bugs me.
So if you didn't get angry about them being late, what would you feel? If anger wasn't an option, what would you feel?
If I didn't feel angry about them being late, I'd feel like maybe I needed to tell them a half hour earlier, a different time, in order to be ready on time.
So that's what you would do. But how would you feel? Let's say they were late. How would you feel?
Well, it's more about making me late. That's when
it's about making you late.
So it's about making me late more so that by being not ready. So if I didn't get mad,
So first of all, you're angry when they're late, and if they made you late, that's kind of part of it.
Yeah, even worse.
Because them being late is making you late.
Right.
So you being late, if you couldn't be angry about that, how would you feel about you being late?
I don't know, that would be hard to let go of, because I really do get mad.
Yeah.
If someone makes me late.
If you couldn't get mad, what would happen if you were late all the time? What would happen?
That would probably drive me crazy, Susan.
Yeah.
But I guess I would learn to deal with it, right? Because it's not a big deal in the long range, but I think
it is for you.
Right, because I think it's respectful and courteous to be on time for things.
Okay. So if you were late, people might not be as respectful of you.
Or they might think I don't care about them.
So you might lose some respect.
Yeah.
And they might think the wrong thing about you. Okay, so we've gone from you feel angry about that to they make you late, and then you might think that other people wouldn't respect you as much if you were late.
Or it gives a bad impression of what I think of them. Like by showing up late or by right at the moment, that I don't respect their time enough, or I don't respect them enough to be there at the right time, when I really do.
Yeah.
And if I'm not late, I'd be there.
Right. So you're concerned. You would be concerned, not mad, not angry, because that's not one of the options right now. So you would feel concerned that they might think that you believe that. And so what we're getting to right now is your fear. You're afraid of that. And
I'm still kind of mad. Okay.
So mad is a better feeling. If we had to rate the feelings on a chart, anger is better and easier than fear to cope with.
That's true. I'll be with you there.
So what I maintain is that most of the time when people get mad, they're afraid. So let's play a game. Okay? I like games. Okay. So let's play a game and think about things that we get mad at. I'll start if I can think of something. Okay. I get mad when I tell somebody we are going to have the best time, and then it just turns out to be a flop. Like, the weather's lousy, and the food the cake didn't come out good, and I ended up making something that they didn't like, and I didn't know it. They came over to my house, and I made something that they didn't like, and I didn't know it, that they didn't eat that. And it just like wasn't the best time. And let's say they leave, and I say, I'm so mad, this didn't turn out right. If I really thought about it, I'm not really mad. I'm afraid that they think less of me, that I wasn't a good cook, that I didn't think to ask, do you eat meat? That that the weather was lousy, and they came in and they were all drenched, and we weren't expecting that to happen, and actually we were going to have hors d'oeuvres out on the deck, and that didn't happen. And so I'm kind of angry, but what I really feel is maybe they won't want to come again. Maybe they're in the car right now saying, couldn't she have asked me if I ate meat? Didn't she know I didn't eat meat? Or let's say, like the example I just gave, maybe I made the same thing that I made before and I didn't know it. Any one of those things can happen, and we think that we're angry, but in that scenario, the totality of that scenario, it's really fear.
What about pure disappointment, though? Like your own disappointment. You might not have been fearful of what they said, and you may be, but I'm thinking sometimes we're disappointed that something didn't work out that way.
Okay, so let's say it is my birthday or your birthday, and your husband knows that there is a concert coming to town, and you absolutely want to see that concert, and you even talked about that concert, and he comes up and he gets you a cookbook for your birthday. And he knows you wanted to go see that concert. He knows that you even talked about that concert, and you thought when he talked about it a couple days before your birthday, you said to yourself,
I'm going to open those concert tickets.
I know why he's bringing this up. It's all set.
Yeah.
But then he goes and brings you that. And you're angry, you're mad. And what about that? And do you think that, in fact, it's really anger that you're feeling? What do you think the person could be feeling if they weren't angry?
And that's where I come back to disappointed again.
Okay. And it may feel like disappointment because fear is more difficult. Fear is one step down. And the reason it's fear, if we were to take those steps the way we did with the other scenario, you may feel disappointed. And then if I were to say to any woman in this situation, talking about the gift, why were you disappointed? What would disappoint you about that?
Not that I wouldn't be appreciative of the cookbook, but probably because I really had my heart set on going to that concert.
So why would you be disappointed? You can get the tickets yourself.
True. Because I guess did not picking up on those cues.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so he didn't pick up on the cues. And what about that? What about that?
I should have been stronger reminding him, but I know where you're going, that,
I'm not going there.
No, I know, but
you shouldn't have been stronger.
No, but I mean, that's what my first thought was, but I think you're going to the point that he didn't get that for me because he didn't care enough about me in order to give me something I really wanted. And if he really was in tune, he would have known that's what I really wanted.
And the reason we don't go there right away, the reason we go to mad instead of fear, is because that thought, he didn't care enough about me, is an irrational thought.
Right.
And so we don't like that thought.
Yeah.
Because the rational part of you may be saying, of course he cares about me. But why do I feel like he doesn't right now? Because he didn't get me what I wanted. So I had a client where I was seeing the couple actually in therapy. This is before I was doing coaching. And a similar situation happened. So what happened was they came to the session, and he had gotten her a big box of candy for her birthday. Or I think it was an anniversary, whatever. He got her a big box of candy. And they started off the session arguing. And I said, what's the problem? And she said, well, he gave me a big box of candy. I didn't want that. I said, why not? I would.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me. She said, he knows I am always on a diet. He knows I would not want him to get me candy. He knows me very well. He knows that that's exactly what I would not want. And I turned to him and I said, well, what'd you do that for? Why'd you get her that candy? And he said, I don't know. I really don't know. I said,
well, it wasn't because he liked candy.
I said, no. He says, I don't know why I did it, to tell you the truth. I have no idea. She's always mad. Well, she's mad now. I said, well, let's think about that. Why did you get the candy? And he said, all right, let me think. I gave him a few minutes. And he said, you know, I think I do know why I spur of the moment got her the candy. I said, why is it? He said, well, you know, to tell you the truth, in my family, when I was growing up, my father brought a box of candy for every occasion to my mother. For her birthday, for her anniversary, for Valentine's Day, my mother got a big box of candy and she loved it. And she pipes in then and says, well, I'm not your mother, have you noticed? But what he did is he went back to his childhood in a moment where he was passing the candy store, right, and he got her the box of candy. He didn't really stop to think, maybe she's on a diet. He did add during the session, you know what? You're always on a diet and you break your diet. How do I know if today's the day you're going to break your diet or not? So I can't really go by that.
Yeah.
So what he was going by was something from his childhood, which we do all the time. Mm-hmm. But really and truly, when I prompted her to say, so he got you the candy, was it really that terrible? She said, yes, it was. He's not present for me. He doesn't listen to me. And maybe right now it was from his past, but I believe he doesn't listen enough. Well, then the argument and the discussion, it turned into a discussion, because I was mediating it. It turned into a discussion about what is she afraid of. And when I said to her, so he's not listening when you speak, what are you afraid of? She said, I'm mad. I said, but if you weren't mad, what would you be afraid of? I'd be afraid that he doesn't listen to me at all. And then what? I'd be afraid he doesn't want to hear what I think. And then what? I'd be afraid he doesn't care about me. And then what? I'd be afraid maybe this would end. This relationship would end, and I don't want it to. And so what I ask people to do.
You're brilliant drilling down. I'm just going to say that right now. As I'm listening to this, I'm like, she's drilling down, she's drilling down, she's drilling down. That's really, really intuitive and nice. I mean, that's really sharp.
Well, thank you. But the fact is that what I know about all of us is that it's much easier. Picture yourself angry. It's much easier to say, deal with it yourself and slam the door and walk away than to sit down in front of somebody's face and say, I'm fearful when you say that. It makes me scared that we're going to just keep, let's say deal with it yourself was you didn't like I overwatered the plants, or I made the bed wrong, or I said something to the child that you didn't like. Whatever it is, all of my clients have come to me with all of those things. Whatever it was, it's a lot easier to slam the bedroom door, or slam the kitchen door, slam the house door, and say, I'm leaving right now. I'm going to go see my boyfriend, or I'm going to go see my guy friend, or I'm going to go out with the guys, or I'm going to go see my girlfriend for coffee. You figure it out. It's much easier to do that than to turn around, open the door, sit down, and say to the person, when you said that, this is how I feel. It's harder. It's much harder. It's making yourself more vulnerable, for one thing.
Sure.
And it's telling the person, okay, I'm going to unzip myself and rip myself open and tell you I'm scared. I'm fearful.
Do we make assumptions about the other person's intention? Like, they're doing that, and even though they know, like in the candy, they're doing that and they know I don't want it. Or,
of course we do.
So maybe we need to adjust the automatic assumption to where maybe the intention was good. Like, he brought it back and it was a very special time for that to happen, right? Or, with me not wanting to be late. It's not always about intention. You're always late because I don't want to be late. It doesn't have anything to do with that, really. So how does that kind of work with how the other person should think about, well, their intention wasn't meant to be harmful, or it wasn't against you?
it's a very important question, because we do have to find a way to navigate these conversations so that they don't end up in, I'm mad, slam the door and leave,
Right.
and then nothing is accomplished. So there's a couple of things I think you can do. The first thing you can do is to start from the point where you believe this person's intentions are good. And you know what? When I see people for coaching, they're coming to me because they've already thought of all of the other things they could do, and it's not working. If they could do it on their own, they wouldn't be coming to see me. So that's the person who has tried maybe to say to the person before, that makes me uncomfortable, or I'm afraid. So they may say to me, oh, I've tried that. But what I believe is that even in situations where you felt the intentions weren't good, you still have the option to start today by thinking they are. And truthfully, I was about to say truthfully and frankly at the same time. Truthfully and frankly, that's what happens in second relationships. When you've already had, I've sat with many couples in this situation. They had a bad marriage, and now they're in the second one, and they don't want to believe the same thing about the second wife or the second husband as they did the first. So they have to come up with something different, and they have to begin with the intentions are good. And sometimes I ask people to say that about their present spouse. Pretend he's the second one. What would you do? Would you be angry? Or would you start out with good intentions? Because you know what's really exciting about this conversation to me is you can start out with good intentions and think the other person has good intentions, even if yesterday wasn't. How do you like that? You can still do that. And when you do it, most of the time, it turns out good. So, yes, he brought me candy before and I was on a diet, but today I'm not going to be. Or today, it's okay. Or like when I said recently to a father, he was talking to me about his young child who there's two kids in the family. There's a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. And the 4-year-old hit the 3-year-old. And he said, why did you do that? And he said, I don't know. That's a child who says that. That's how we adults are too sometimes. That gentleman that I saw in therapy with the wife who said to me, I don't know why I got the candy. I figured out my father used to do it. But we can start out today thinking that person has good intentions. And sometimes that alone will erase, I'm mad. And then if we are mad, then what we need to do, so the first thing we can do is to start out thinking that the person has good intentions and believe it. Not just say to yourself they do, but believe that they do. Regardless of what's happened in the past, that has no bearing on it. I really believe that. It has no bearing on your ability to start fresh today. Secondly, you can say to yourself, if you're still, I'm mad, where did that really go to in my mind? I'm angry, but what am I really? How am I really feeling? And I believe that most of the time, how you're feeling is, I'm afraid.
And I'm hearing you also talk about your own personal baggage that you have to let go of and leave at the door, right?
Exactly.
If you're going to start with this positive intention, then leave your junk behind, leave that baggage, leave all that stuff. Just leave it down, and you're not there anymore, right?
You need to do that. And also when the baggage is between you. So for instance, talking about being late. You're late now and you're always late. That never helped anybody change.
Right.
Like I've said before, pointing a finger at someone, either literally or figuratively, does not ever lead to some kind of empathic response.
You keep telling us that, and we're going to get it. We are going to get that advice. I know we're going to get it.
Well, and the thing that I come to here is, I'm angry, but I'm willing not to be. When we can get to a point where we can say, I'm angry, but I'm willing not to be, the way to get there is to not bring the baggage in, to not bring what happened Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, into Friday. And to instead, so you're starting out in a fresh state of mind, but also to truly believe this person had the best of intentions, not the worst of intentions. And then to focus the attention, if all of that is still having you so-called mad, then focus the attention, if you can, on yourself and figure out how would you feel if you weren't. And then the next step is, what am I afraid of? So so we could continue to play the game and we could say, what else makes you angry? It makes me angry if I don't believe someone's listening to me. It makes me angry if I believe that
I've been lied to,
that you're being lied to. A lot of people will say to me, perfect example, somebody said to me recently, I walked by my son, he's watching TV, and he should be doing his homework. And I'm mad. And I said to her, okay, let's think about this. What are you mad about? I'm mad that he's not doing his homework. What if he doesn't do his homework? What about that makes you mad? He could fail the test. What if he fails the test? What about that makes you mad? Oh my gosh, he won't get into a good school. Okay, what if he doesn't get into a good college? What about that makes you mad? I'd be so upset. What about that? What do you mean upset? I'd be so, and they don't know what to fill in the blank. You would be fearful that he wouldn't have a good life, that he wouldn't have the life he wants.
So it goes down to so much more than just walking by in the test. But I have a question. When you're in the state of being mad or angry, it's not easy to flip that switch.
Correct.
When you're right in the middle of the emotion. So what are the specific things that we should all try to do if we're in that moment and we want to either talk ourselves down or realize I don't want to continue this going this direction?
Number one, wait 5 minutes before you say or do anything. That's number one. Number two, turn it around to yourself and say, what am I fearful about right now? And do that walk in your own head. What am I fearful about? And the sooner you can turn it toward yourself and away from whoever you're pointing the finger at, the quicker you can get to the answer. Because, and it would also help, if you believe what I'm saying, that anger is fear. Anger is really about fear. And it's really about your willingness to be vulnerable about that fear. And I can understand, believe me when I say this, I can understand why you don't want to sit down and look the person in the eye and say, here's what I'm afraid of. That's has so much more potential to be hurtful to you.
So maybe in your own head, before anything negative comes out of your mouth, you want to ask yourself that question, right?
And not say anything for 5 minutes.
Not say anything.
And then ask yourself the question, what am I fearful about right now? What is this really about?
And maybe you'll stop yourself from doing damage that you have to recover from later.
Exactly. That's the hope.
Susan, I love the way that you drill down and yet you bring it into a position that gives us a step-by-step way that we can get ourselves out of a situation before we have to figure out we've made things worse, and then we've got to recover from that. So thank you. This one was really intuitive. I loved it. And I'm sure all of you did too. If you'd like to reach out to Susan, I know she'd love to hear from you. And you can find her at reallife@blueridgepbs.org. We're all navigating this crazy path of life, and there's so many things that happen to us day in and day out. Aren't we all really, really fortunate to have Susan? I think so too. I'm Rose Martin, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.